Hey, what's up, kiddos? Mr. Smith here with another at-home music for you, and today we're going to talk about this word in music, and it's called duple. Duple is actually another way that we use the word double. So in fact, if you think about duple meaning double, see if I can write it nice and neat for you here. We know that that just means the feeling of two. The feeling of two. Two beats, two pulses. And if you think about two and you go back and forth between that number, you can actually do some pretty amazing things in music. Right now I'm sitting on something called a cajon. And this cajon is actually kind of like a box, a big wooden box. See that hole there? Kind of helps the sound get out. This cajon I'm going to use to just kind of play a little bit. I want you to just listen. I want you to listen to what duple sounds like and feels like. There's going to be two different ways that I make it sound duple or double. And I'm always going to use 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Pretty easy. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, if you think about it, it's like a march right now. A march is kind of easy because it sounds like your steps. 1, 2, or left, right, left, right. But sometimes duple can start to change the way we feel. Ooh, now I'm adding some swing to it. Kind of changes it a little bit. Let's go back to that march feel. Still 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's really what duple can do for music. But in order to kind of have a little bit more fun with it, I want to show you something called the Chrome Music experiment. I'm going to show you a little bit of how duple can work, how it can feel, how it can sound, and then I'm going to ask you guys to kind of play around with your own Chrome Music experiments using duple, or the feeling of two. Hey kiddos, this is what I was talking about with that Chrome Music Lab. Excuse me. And I actually got here by going to something called Google itself. I'll start from there. Google. Google. Boom. Everyone knows Google. And if you actually type in Chrome Music Lab, Chrome, oh, mine's popping up right away. Must be because I go there a lot. Chrome Music Lab, we get to hear. That's exactly what we're looking for. And you can play around with all these. In fact, I hope you do. But kiddos, I actually want to see what that monkey has to play for us. It looks like he's holding some two cool mallets for a timpani. Let's go check it out. Now, it does say heads up, if you have your iOS device in silent mode, audio playback will be affected. And it's okay. We already know that the audio is going to work for this, but make sure it works for your iPad or your whatever you're playing this on, even on a computer. Now, there's those guys, there's these guys, there's these guys. There's a lot of different ways that we can play around, but today we're actually trying to do something called duple, just like I was saying before. And duple is that feeling of two. The first ones I want to show you are these two guys. Now, if we actually put 2 plus 2 together, it makes 4. And just by looking at these lines underneath them, I can see that there are 4 lines. So we're already dealing with something that can make something feel like it's duple. 1, 2, 1, 2. In order to do that, I'm going to have to tap the dots. Now, if I tap the very first line on the very bottom dot, it might sound like this. If I tap the second line on the middle dot, it might sound like this. Now, I'm going to do that again for the third line, except I want to tap the bottom dot again. And then the fourth line, the middle dot. Just like that. Now, if I did my job right, I might hear 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's push play. There it is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, right, we did it. Now, of course, you're wondering what that top line sounds like. Well, let's play around with that, and that's what I want you to do too. I'm going to push all the dots on the top line because it's going to sound like a really cool drum beat. Come on, dots, work for me. There we go. Now, if I push play, it should sound like a drummer playing 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. Oh yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. And if I want to make it even more funky, I can add something new. I'm going to add something new and see how that changed it. What if I move this over here? Let's try that one. Please play around with that and see if you can find your own duple. But there's another way I want you to try duple on this too before I leave. It's with these two guys. I'm going to get rid of these black lines here, or these like black, almost rectangle things. They're actually for the cowbell that little guy's holding. You're going to hear two congas, a low and a high, and a cowbell. But in order to do duple on this one, we're going to have to do something a little bit similar, but we have to figure out exactly where to put the dots, because you probably are noticing that there are 6 lines on this one. With those 6 lines, that means that we have to do duple in a different way. Check this out. I'm going to start again on the bottom dot on the first line. But then, to do the middle dot for the high note of the conga, I'm going to do the dot in the middle between the second and third line. Now I'm going to do the bottom dot on the 4th line, and then the middle dot one more time, but that's going to be between the 5th and 6th lines. If I did my job right, I should hear 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's try it. Oh, that's what I heard. Now, in order to make this more interesting and fun, I want to add the cowbell with it. So we're going to go like this. We're going to have him hit the cowbell each time he hits a conga. Let's try this. Now that's really cool. But what if I decided to put the cowbell on every single one of the lines? Let's hear what that sounds like. I think you'll agree with me. It's going to be pretty interesting. Oh, that's what a lot of us music nerds like to call 3/2. But it's a really interesting way to get your body moving and to show a different feel or pulse of what the duple feel is. Now, I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to add that. Let's see what happens. Oh my goodness. There are probably so many different ways that you can figure out how to make this sound even more awesome. So I'm just going to do this one more try, and then I want you to play around with it. Very, very cool. Your job now is to explore duple all by yourself. Have fun with it. You can even see these guys and see what they sound like. They do some pretty cool stuff. You can also go to these two guys, that first monkey little guy that we were talking about. They do some pretty interesting things too. Have fun with it and show me what you're learning. Really have fun. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining us today on At Home Music, and we'll see you later.